story was as curious as his narrative. The tale of his life is the tale of a writer of incredible vision, an astute analyst and pundit.
All right, so welcome to Thinking Outside the Box. It's my new podcast that I'm putting together. So today, this series is going to be about basically your financial status, how to improve your financial status, and then just kind of some misconceptions. But it's going to be broken up into multiple segments. So this segment right here is just going to be about what class you fall into, kind of some of the myths, and shedding some light on different classes in America. The three main classes, which is the upper class, middle class, and then lower class, and where you fall based on the actual numbers and not just where you feel that you fall. So that's the premise of this episode right here. We hear all the time that the middle class is shrinking. We hear that wages have been stagnant for years. We hear that families are struggling financially, and it's all connected directly to how much money they bring in. I think one of the issues that we have in America, and this is my personal opinion, is just we have a lot of people who are not financially responsible, and I don't think there's not a lot of financial training in the sense where people understand how to balance, and budget. And so since they don't know how to do that, they utilize credit and put themselves into financial situations where they believe that the only reason why they're in it is because they're not making enough money to survive. But let's look at the numbers. Let's see what the data shows, right? So, and even before we get into that, and you'll see on the side, you'll see the numbers scrolling and everything, based per state, per or district. We have the District of Columbia in there as well. So the real question is, what exactly is the middle class, right? Who's in it? Who's not in it? Is it shrinking? And what class are you in? Sometimes these questions can be difficult to answer. So the data that's going to be expressed is from data taken from 2016, and it reflects a family of three people. So preferably two, or ideally two adults, one child, right? So, and we're under the assumption that both adults are working. So that's where these numbers are coming from. And also per state, the numbers have been adjusted based on cost of living in those areas. So you'll see some places there's like a huge variation. And like I said, you'll see this on the side, and I'll touch on a few of them, mostly the more densely populated areas like your Californias, New Yorks, Ohio's, and Texas, and all that stuff, right? So yeah, I mean, let's go with the average is. So the average for a family of three, mother, father, or father, or mother, or whatever your pronoun is, two adults and a child, right? The average income for those families, which would put you in the lower class category, is $25,624, right? So if you make less than $25,000 combined, if you guys combined, or even if one person is taking care of all of them, if in this configuration, three-member family, if you're bringing in, and this is gross, not net, so the difference between, just for those who don't know, the difference between gross income and net income is your gross income is before taxes, right? So your net income is what you actually put in your pocket. So for people who make less than $25,624, you are unfortunately considered lower class. I don't know if that's an unfortunate thing or not, but that's just what you're classified as. For a household that brings in $78,442, anything above that, you're in the middle class, right? And then for upper class, if the combined family brings in $187,872, then you are now upper class. So you are, the rich people. Now, when we think about this, if you're bringing in if both people are bringing in $40,000, let's say, the mom brings in, or both members of the family bring in $40,000, then you're middle class. You know what I mean? So you're in the middle class. You're not poor. So what does this data say? I mean, this data is basically telling us, well, the data shows that 52% of the U.S. population is actually in the middle class. And that's according to a recent report in September 2018 from the Pew Research Center. So from the Pew Research Center. The Pew report found that the middle class made up slightly less than 50%. So that was back in 2015. So back in 2015, only just a little less than 50%. So we'll just go with 49%. 49% of Americans were in the middle class, and now 52% of Americans are in the middle class. Okay, so it's 52%, which means that 48% are not. Now that 48% is also split between the lower class and upper class. There's going to be more people in the lower class, of course, and then there'll be some people in the upper class. The share of income captured by the middle class has fallen from 60% to 43% from 1970 to 2014. Okay, so what are they saying? They're saying that, now this is where you could take that, if you just took that data right there and just said, okay, this proves that the middle class has shrunk in the sense of how much money they're bringing in, because 60% of the income was going to the middle class back in 1970. Now only 43% of the income is going to the middle class. But I think what people fail to realize is that a lot more people who were in the middle class have actually moved up, right? So it's been a upward mobility, essentially. So people who were considered middle class back then may now be considered upper class now, right? Like I was saying, one of the most interesting parts of this report is that it was finding that the middle class is shrinking, but not only because more people are poor, but because more people are rich. So the percentage of lowest income earners, those earning less than 2/3 of the median income, had grown 4 percentage points. Sorry. Basically, what they found is that poor people in 2015 went from who made up 16% of the population, now make up 20% of the population. So 20% of the population are low income people, right? From 1971 to now, the percentage of Americans in the very high income households rose by 5 points. So it went from the top 4% to 9%. So 9% of Americans are in the rich class, right? So it is not just that people are falling out of the middle class and into the lower class, they're also rising into the upper class. And that's something you have to keep in mind. So like I said, just running through some numbers, even just based on your state, right? So in California, which is actually surprising, but I think they're looking at the whole state of California, and not just the extremely wealthy areas San Diego, LA, and San Francisco, where there's a lot of wealthy people. But anyway, so in California, if you make $24,380, then you are considered lower class. If you make that or below, then you're considered lower class. If you make $77,806, then you're in the middle class. And again, this is going back to a three-member family home, right? So, if you're making more than that, then you're doing better than that. And then, of course, to be rich, you have to make $190,923, and that puts you in the rich class. So, again, that's just California, and you see I'm scrolling on the side over there, so you can check out your state, go back through and check out your state and see where you stand at in your state. But another thing too to take into consideration is the fact that demographics have changed. So I have seen people who've come in, you know, got their citizenship, started at the very bottom. Majority have joined, like, not majority of the immigrants, but majority of people that I've interacted with who went from lower class to middle and sometimes even to upper class. They were in the military as well. So as far as like upward mobility, and I'm gonna do a video on, you know, why you should join the military, but as far as upward mobility, the military definitely offers that. If you qualify and you're able to get in, then you know, you can go from lower class to middle to even upper class in your lifetime. And that's one of the few things that is afforded to us here in this country, that a lot of people don't have the option of that in their country, to go from, you know, whatever their class system or caste system that they're placed in, that they're born into. Some of them are confined to that position indefinitely, you know, and it's very difficult to move out of that, even if they're geniuses or whatever. So yeah, so just kind of recap, as of September 2018, the Pew report has shown that 52% of Americans are in the middle class, according to the 2016 income figures. So this report was generated in 2018 using figures from 2016. So that could have changed slightly, whether positive or negative in current day, but for the sake of this argument, we're using that data. 19% of Americans are in the upper class. 19%, that's a huge chunk of people that are making over $187,000, right? As far as U.S. average. And, you know, and then 29% of Americans are in the lower class. So, like I said, wrapping it up, you may not actually be poor. If you think that you're poor because, you know, you can't afford the newest iPhone, or you can't afford a brand new car, which is a horrible, I'll probably do a video on that too, why cars are a horrible, buying a brand new car is the worst decision you can make. But just because of depreciation and all that stuff. But just because you can't afford the newest stuff once, just because you can't get once, and I tell my daughter this all the time, she'll tell me she needs, you know, the new iPhone. I'm like, you don't need it, you want it. And you need to be able to differentiate the, you know, a want from a need, you know. So let me know what you think. I'll probably do another video like this too, just kind of breaking down single people and what you have to earn to be considered middle class, lower class, upper class, if you're just a single person, no dependents, no family to take care of, anything like that. But let me know on the bottom, you know, where you fall, and what your plan is to either progress and move up, or are you comfortable where you're at and realize that you don't need to move up? But yeah, anyway, so I just say all that just to say, you know, don't let politicians fearmonger you into thinking that, you know, Americans are poorer now than they've ever been before, and everybody's starving and all of that, and that the middle class is shrinking, and that your wages are going away, and, you know, the wealth gap is increasing to the point where, you know, you can never, you know, you're just going to become a poor serf that has to be a slave and all, you know, just don't buy into all that stuff. But